Thank you, Sebastian. So for this warm words, I think you can hear me. You cannot see me. Okay, it's a technical issue. All right, here we go. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session that I'm very happy, very glad to moderate. Great to see all of you. Maybe just a few words for beginning. So my name actually is Noara Kebir. I'm managing consultant of MicroEnergy International. I'm an Algerian German citizen, but I'm actually aspiring for Bangladeshi citizenship, just because Bangladesh has been a huge source of inspiration for me in the last 20 years, a bit more than 20 years ago. And this inspiration is still having quite a huge impact on my life until today. So I would like to use, let's say, a bit this introductory moment to the last session of today to first say happy birthday, Bangladesh. Happy birthday to you. And congratulations for joining the Middle Income Club. That's really great. That's really great. And yeah, I'm glad to be a little bit a part of the story in the terms that, you know, I'm following what's happening in this place, although it's quite far away from the place where I was born and where I was raised. But this may be to start a little bit, let's say, with the very big actor, or what we're all talking about, Bangladesh. But now let me go to this panel and also welcome all of you, and particularly my panelists, which are Dr. Angelika Fleddermann, country director of the GIZ, Divya Kottadiel, welcome here, Sonia, Bashir, Kabir, Hadley Taylor, good to see you, and to have you with us. And maybe for starting this round, I would be glad to hear from each of you, like a kind of key statement on the energy and finance inclusion process in Bangladesh from the last 50 years, but also from your perspective. How are you looking at this? Or what would be your key statement just thinking about this? And maybe Divya, would you like to start?
Sure, thank you, Noara. I think in terms of progress, in many ways, financial inclusion and energy inclusion sort of go together. And Bangladesh has made significant progress in both areas. Like at the start of the last decade, I think in terms of energy access, Bangladesh was about at 40% or so, and we've now come to 97% on track to achieve 100% electrification, and that's really remarkable. There's also been significant progress in terms of the financial inclusion side of it. And there's also, a lot of growth in energy demand, and this is only going to increase. And I think one thing that, the country has an opportunity to meet this growing demand by using an integrated approach. So far it's just been oil and gas in terms of power generation, but, including clean energy into that mix will be an important factor moving forward. So yeah, I'll stop there.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Sonia, what would be your key statement?
Echoing what she said, it's like Bangladesh has come from as low as 12% electricity access in 1992, as per the World Bank data, to almost 97, 98% today, which is practically a miracle. After we gained independence in 1971, the country was referred to as a basket case. And today, 50 years on our birth year, we're celebrating that we will be graduating from the LDCs into a middle economy. So we're about to embark on, again, an amazing journey where I think that 4 key technologies are expected to play a pivotal role. And I'll just go very quickly over those. One would be the Internet of Things, or machine-to-machine connections that are forecasted to grow threefold to 12 billion devices, and half of these will be connected homes. The second thing is storage, right? The rapid advances in storage technologies, particularly batteries, is held to be the greatest threat to utility business model. But with on-site generation, consumers without storage capabilities depend on backup power. And so this is another area where technology will play a role. And the last two, one is artificial intelligence augmented with AI. The increasing number of decentralized engageable assets could represent themselves in the marketplace. And last but not least is blockchain in today's economy. So we feel that the transition to a democratized energy system, as opposed to just installed capacity base, where Bangladesh will be graduating furthermore when we do it, are in accordance with these 4 technologies, will enable this transition to the democratization of energy.
Oh yeah, thank you for that. Thank you, Sonia, for that statement. Hadley, what's about you?
Yeah, thank you, Noara, and good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm really happy to have an opportunity to get my brain back into thinking about Bangladesh and electrification, because ultimately that's also where my career path started, in this energy and development space. I mean, maybe let me take a bit of a more global view, as is kind of typical of what we do at SE for All. And to say, really from my perspective, Bangladesh's experience and being really a first mover in the off-grid energy space, and showing how inherently intertwined that is with financial inclusion and the need to bridge affordability barriers. I think this was key for the entire sector and electrification policies in other regions as well. I mean, I think we see it playing out differently, and it's evolving in other regions when it comes to PayGo or mobile money in East Africa. But really, I think the experience in Bangladesh showed that financial inclusion and energy inclusion cannot be separated in a way, that these two things are intertwined, and really addressing affordability, not just access, but affordability is also a key component of universal electrification.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for that. But saying this, I've been really tricked a little bit by one of the statements today. I think it was Shonali Pachauri who said that we need to change our thinking, going from energy access to energy well-being, and it's for me, that's it feels really like a momentum somehow, and working in this space now for 20 years, and actually to see that something like universal access is reachable out there, and that we can within one lifetime really see how the paradigms is even moving forward, from access to well-being, from quantity to quality. That's really a very important thing for us in this sector. Angelika, what would you say? What would be your key statement with regard to this great anniversary? But I think we don't hear you. I'm not sure. It looks like you're unmuted, but we don't hear you, unfortunately. I'm not sure if in the back someone can help. We don't hear you. Oh, we don't hear you yet. We don't hear you.
Noara, we won't be able to do anything from our side because the mic seems on. I think we'll have to see whether Dr. Fleddermann can fix it on her side and move on in the meantime.
All right. Okay, then we can
just a quick note, if you are joined by a browser, it may be that your browser has disabled your microphone, so please check that.
I will come back to I'll come back to Angelika and maybe for now Divya from your side. Look at if you're looking, let's say, at your calendar and imagine it's 3rd March 2040. quite some time. What do you think how the, let's say, energy infrastructure in the global south would look like? Would we talk about global south anymore? 2040.
Well, that's an interesting point.
It's 10 years after 20. It's 10 years. It's 2030. So we reach a lot of goals, and then we have 10 years along.
So I'm going to be optimistic and say we've achieved universal electrification. So that's a given. But in terms of energy systems of the future, I think at that point we will have sort of tried to combine. We would have combined centralized and decentralized technology into the sort of integrated, interactive network that will deliver customer-centric clean energy solutions to all people. And if we start from now, I think developing countries have this opportunity, and they will have ensured this integrated planning and including innovative financing mechanisms within that, reducing the cost of connections, accelerating the pace at which these connections are made, and within that, sort of improving affordability, reliability, and reducing losses, transmission of grid losses. And then, along with that, the kind of data.
But Divya, you still think we will have grids in 2040?
Well, well, at least an integrated system. So we're talking about like the grid and off-grid systems together. I don't think it's like an either-or situation, but I think we need this sort of integrated mechanism. But just within that, the kind of data and financial innovation that we would have had at that point will benefit not just consumers, but also utilities and companies and private sector and governments. So yeah, I think if I had to phrase that into one sentence, I would say that integrated energy systems would be the systems of the future.
Hadley, SDG 7, 10 years after reaching SDG 7. So do you think we are going to reach SDG 7 globally, and 10 years later, will we have grids?
Well, I mean, the ideal situation and our goal at SE for All is to close the door at 2030.
Turn off the light.
Exactly. So I hope by 2040 I will have found a new sector and a new job to work in, if that is the case. But certainly, I think on the assumption that we have achieved SDG 7 by 2030, I think what we would hope to see by 2040 is indeed, as Divya said, a lot more integrated systems. I think we would see households all over the world. I think the energy situations in what you mentioned, the global south versus the global north, will look a lot more similar in the future, where we have households and businesses taking a much more conscious approach to their energy consumption, whether that's through smart homes, these kinds of things, that really your energy consumption is something that you think about just as much as what kind of food you put in your fridge for your house every day, these kinds of things. And I really hope to see that also many people are moving up the energy ladder, as we say, as hopefully they are increasingly, leaving poverty. And I hadn't heard that energy wellness term before, which I like very much, and I'm going to start using. But certainly, I think we need to, ask ourselves, especially in countries where, like Bangladesh, where we are seeing that it's, closing in on universal access. what is access? Does that simply mean a connection? Does it mean a solar lantern, or is it much more than that? Is it reliable? Is it affordable? Can it power productive uses? Can people basically address all of their personal and business needs without fear of a lack of generation capacity, or that the light won't turn on when they flick the switch? And so I hope that in the future that reliability issue is addressed for everyone around the world, but that we also ourselves as consumers have more choices about how we use the energy in our homes, and we do that much more consciously.
We are, Angelika, are you back? Can we hear your voice?
Hello, Noara?
Yes.
Not?
Yes. I can hear you.
No.
Angelika, no, we can hear you.
This is
hear you.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, this is always a bit of a, can you hear me? This is the normal saying in Corona times and virtual meeting times. Yes, sorry for, yeah.
So good to have you and your voice with us now. And what would be your key statement, to the 50th anniversary?
Yeah, what I wanted to say actually, that what came now to my mind when you were presenting the panelists, and these were all women, and I wanted just to say that I think for the Women Day, I mean on the 8th of March, but it will be not on the 8th of March, but we are organizing here in Bangladesh with one organization workshop, I mean with government, a workshop on gender and energy. I think it's the first time on that. So I just wanted to bring that, because here we are all ladies, women, and this is a big topic for us, actually, not easy topic also, women and energy. I mean, even looking at the different organizations we have here, they are also mainly men. So we wanted to make it a topic, and we have the first time the workshop with the government, and I'm looking very much forward also to that. That is also a new development. Otherwise, I think what Sonia said already, this huge achievement here in Bangladesh with and so quick with this access to energy. I think where I am looking at is now how that can be used actually, and what kind of potential is this for economic and also social human development for the people in Bangladesh. I mean, we are looking, as German Development Corporation, we also look, of course, looking not only into energy in other sectors. So what does it open actually for the further development of people who are maybe not the higher, I mean, poorer areas? So how that can also change their lives. So that is where I'm looking for now as the next step, so to say, that has been reached, and it gives a big opportunity to Bangladesh also to reduce now. I mean, we are in a bigger trap at the moment again with poverty rates because of COVID. I mean, Bangladesh was also in that regard very good, but what kind of potential we have there with the energy access also for getting people out of their poor status at the moment. So that's my part on that. Can you also see me or not?
Yes, we can hear you
and
we can see you.
Yeah.
Everything.
Then
everything works. Works now.
Thanks.
And maybe to underline your point, Angelika, to be frank, I am particularly proud and happy that we have such a panel outside of 8th of March, because these are like typical 8th of March panels.
Yes.
For all of my life, and hopefully we will have these panels every day in the year and not only on the 8th of March.
No, but I'm happy that we could organize this first time, that is, I'm also very happy about that. It was, yeah, anyway.
Sonia.
Yes.
You see, actually, I'm aspiring for the Bangladeshi internship citizenship. After my internship in Bangladesh, I want to now, frankly speaking, what can others learn from the amazing journey that Bangladesh has done in the last 50 years, particularly, you know, it's in the energy space, in the renewable energy space, but also in this space, you know, coming 50 years independence, really moving from you know, a very, very low level and entering the middle income club. How does it feel? And what would be your recommendation also for others? You know, what are the key things that we can learn?
Thank you very much. So firstly, I'd begin by talking a little bit about our population. At one point, it was considered that our population is going to be a weakness, but our population is actually a strength, right? And
what mean the number of people?
Yes, the number of people, right? Because now with the way the world is progressing with technology taking over, Bangladesh as a country has demographic dividend. 50% of the population is under the age of 30. We also have what is called the density dividend. 160 million people live in 55,000 square miles. But from the angle that I'm most interested in, from the technology views that we see, we have what is known as the data dividend, right? The amount of data that can be generated from the 160 million people is going to take us to a much faster trajectory to success. But to answer your question, particularly, that firstly, it feels awesome to witness this in my lifetime. And then the lessons we can learn, if I look back, I lived in Silicon Valley for 20 years. I moved back to Bangladesh in 2005. And in the last 15 years, the country has just progressed beautifully. And I think one of the initiatives that was taken by the government was the Digital Bangladesh initiative, where we went from democratizing technology to democratizing innovation. And that's where the energy comes in. But also, you know, the rise of the micro entrepreneurs, how they fueled the informal economy that cannot be ignored, where women had a big role to play. And now we're seeing that is now actually leading more towards a youth-led startup ecosystem, which embraces technology to solve the problem. So that transition has happened, where we have an ecosystem to empower youth to go and solve problems, leveraging what is the latest. And then the other thing I would say is that as a country, you know, female leadership, we welcome gender. We still missing a lot of on that balance, but at least, you know, from the tone at the top is very women friendly, and also at the micro entrepreneur level we have mostly women borrowers. Mm-hmm. So I think that has set tone for the country to say that yes, we can embrace a future with inclusion. And with the fourth industrial revolution kicking in, we've realized that inclusion is a joint responsibility and exclusion has joint risks. So trying to address for that and saying that how we can move forward. So these are a few of the comments I would make.
Yeah, Sonia, that's very powerful what you say. Although I'm you know, I come from a country which has a very, very, very low population density, which is Algeria. And yes, for us, I remember before I've been in Bangladesh the first time, just to imagine those 160 million. Yes. Yeah. Is just, and I experienced this a lot with my let's say colleagues from Africa, etc. That you can just not imagine how it is. It's a bit scary to hear that we should also become so dense and to get such a big population. But no, I'm joking here. But you know, I think one let's say from an outsider view, particularly universities like BRAC University is also something, you know, very specific to the Bangladesh context. BRAC, biggest NGO in the world, and it's not only about being a big NGO, it's about being big enough also to have political influence in the end, and to give vulnerable populations somehow a voice with weight. Yeah, and so this part as well. Where do you see the role of BRAC university with its very specific nature as in the last 50 years journey actually?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question, because the founder of BRAC University was Sir Abid, late Sir Abid, and he is, as you rightly mentioned, the founder of the world's biggest NGO, which is BRAC. So a lot of the psyche of the university, it comes from empathy, comes from trying to solve the problems of the masses, and it also comes from solving simple problems. So when at the university, the DNA of the faculty and the students is led towards that, where you are looking at solving problems locally and employing, youth and women, empowering them and reaching out, so that the culture says that you have very inclusive culture between haves and have-nots. And that has helped the university align very closely with the NGO or the vision that our founder had, and take the university forward, take the country forward that way.
Yeah, and frankly speaking, I think that's also one of the let's say one of the settings which is extremely inspiring for others. So again, congratulations for that. Coming back maybe to Divya, from your point of view, once 100% electrification has been achieved, so how does the last SDG 7 decade look like from your perspective for the countries in the region? Yeah, Bangladesh, India, etc. So what is going to be the focus now?
Right. Well, I also like what you said earlier.
And jumping in the times.
About, yeah, just, moving from energy access to energy well-being. And I think that's in a sense what we look at post 100% electrification, right? So energy, we don't look at energy in isolation, but it's not an end in itself, but the access to electricity is only as good as how transformational it has been to the people, to people's lives. Just looking at India's example, we achieved 100% electrification 2 years ago, and the government has done a phenomenal job in terms of ensuring that the grid has reached almost every household. But then there's still issues of reliability, affordability, ease of access. Those issues still exist. And so while 100% electrification is an important first step, it's also absolutely critical to look at beyond access. So, looking at the relationship between energy and other development outcomes. So looking at how it impacts healthcare, how it impacts education, livelihoods, job creation, agriculture, and food security. And so energy is an enabler for all of these other sectors as well. And so I think in this last decade, especially for countries like India and Bangladesh, we need to focus on how achieving SDG 7 actually contributes to achieving a number of other SDGs, related to these additional sectors. So yeah, I just really like what you said earlier about moving from energy access to energy well-being. And I think well-being is really looking at all of these other sectors and how transformational it can be to people's lives.
Yeah, just to clarify, I cited actually Shonali Pachauri.
Yeah, I know, from Shonali, yes.
Because we are a bit also in a scientific context. I just want to make clear.
Sure. Yeah.
The Angelika, how you and let's say also in your position in the GIZ, etc. So what do you think? What will be the focus? For the next 10 years in terms of addressing SDG 7 in the next decade until 2030.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, we will look definitely further into the renewable energy. I mean, Bangladesh had the 10% goal of having renewable from the power supply, but which they didn't achieve. So we will look further into that. How can Bangladesh actually increase also the percentage on green energy? That could be different ways. I mean, we are looking very much on solar at the moment, but that could be also other other parts like floating PV or agrovoltaic, or we looked into also biogas at that time. But also, we had today even a discussion where also the minister was. He actually also was talking about this solar home systems, that this is still catering about 20 million, Bangladeshis here at the moment. He was talking about that. I found it quite interesting because we have today this discussion. But one other point will be, I think in future also, regional cooperation in terms of energy supply. Which we also feel that is very good. He was even referring also to EU, which also has not a Germany grid and a Netherlands grid, but that is also, there is a joint grid. So that is one part of it, looking further into how can we actually how can we assist Bangladesh into the increase of the renewable energy. And the other part is looking more towards also energy efficiency. I mean, and that is very well connected also with urban development and urbanization here. We will look into, and we do it today already, energy efficiency, for instance, in public buildings, but also in a kind of sustainable industrialized transformation. I mean, we are working also especially in the textile sector. There is also the link between energy efficiency and in the textile sector, but also more looking at the grid, actually, smart grid, and also digitalization of grid management. And there are various points which involves a lot also on capacity development. So these are the two areas we are looking at.
Yeah, Angelika, I think you brought up also an important point. Let's say that is maybe even one of the central points which always inspire me with regard to the electricity sector in Bangladesh. That actually, when you look at Bangladesh from the pure electricity capacity point of view, the role of renewable energy and of solar home systems, for example, is maybe marginal with regard to the whole electricity generation and production and so on. But and this is debatable depending how you count them, but let's say 6 million, 20 million solar home systems are not maybe so much contributing in terms of the total capacity, but these are still 20 million households who are actually, getting their energy through solar energy. There are prosumers, there are also voters, I like to say. There are, yes. It's let's say in terms and these are and just into thinking about let's say decentralized energy and energy in the future, which is also a democratization of energy. Actually, the potential here is, from my perspective, is amazing. And we are still a little bit just also recalling the microfinance history of Bangladesh. What also, Sonia, what you've been, I think there we have 20. I rather believe in the 20 million number, because I like to count not only what is, let's say, formal through the ITCOL program, but many people use solar even the informal way, although we don't like it so much, but it's still solar. And all these 20 millions actually have a potential to grow this sector, and we can imagine, the impact that this can have actually 2030, 2040 in terms of distributed energy, not only technically, but really in terms of power to power my house, myself, my business, to power the country. I don't know, Hadley, what bringing you back, we've been in 2040 together already, but now as long as you're not shifting the sector, so I'm sure you will be there until 2030. So for those who have reached 100% electrification, C for all,
yeah.
What are you going to do? Let's say, what's going to be your focus for these regions?
Certainly. I mean, I think for for the countries that are closing in on 100%, or even those that have been there for some time now, what we look at is we call it the hot and cold side of SDG 7. So what do I mean by that? The hot is access to clean cooking. I mean, we can never forget about this. I mean, we were just talking about women before, also the impact on women and children. I don't think it needs to be restated. We all understand that this is a huge need. And, you know, we haven't really gotten to the point of a scalable business model yet that has worked across geographies that can address the access to clean cooking issue. And from our perspective, we need to think that there is no silver bullet in clean cooking. We need to think about it the same way we're thinking about integrated electrification planning, that it could be that a country's strategy for clean cooking has multiple technologies and multiple fuels that make sense for different geographies based on different regions and different needs. It could be electric cooking, LPG, improved biomass. It's likely going to be a mix of those. And we need to take our least cost electrification hat and put that lens onto clean cooking and see how we can come up with integrated plans to address that issue. That's the hot side. The cold side is, and I think particularly for India and Bangladesh, this is true, coming into the middle income area, is access to cooling. You know, we all know that air conditioners are huge energy consumers and guzzlers. And with so much of a middle class growing and becoming potential buyers of these systems, we need to make sure that these are efficient. And we're also making use of passive cooling and other cooling mechanisms to not overwhelm the energy generation or systems that we have. And the last thing I would mention, because we can't have a Zoom call without mentioning it, is of course with the COVID crisis ahead of us, all of the vaccines that are coming out have some cooling requirements. And so I think, you know, countries that have addressed the universal electrification issue also need to start looking at cold chains. You know, this can have longer term benefits for food supply and other medicines, but at least in the immediate term, there's kind of this emergency need to look at the country's cold chains to see how we can get those vaccines once, you know, they're more readily available for the whole world, to and from health centers that, you know, many of which could be in very rural areas with perhaps unstable grid supply. So how do we make sure they don't spoil along the way? I think in a way it's almost an opportunity. If I'm going to try and find a silver lining, it's an opportunity to really address that, the cold chains headed out to rural and remote communities.
Oh, Hadley, yeah. First, thank you very much, you know, to put the hot side of energy also on the agenda of this round. I don't know, Divya, Angelika, Sonia, if there is from your perspective, if you want to, you know, have a particular view or something that you would like to add with regard to your specific position in the sector, to, let's say, the hot side of energy. And maybe it's even, you know, from the enthusiasm that we have on the 100% electrification, is there maybe even a risk that we somehow forget the hot side of it? It's not so attractive, it's difficult to address with smart, let's say, smart solution. There is a lot, you know, a lot of discussions that we have had in the last decades around improved cooking, improved access to cooks, to clean cook fuels, etc. It's a little bit that one of the reasons why this topic is actually not advancing so well is because of gender issues. So I would be glad, you know, to maybe also hear a bit your thoughts about the hot side. Sonia, maybe you want to start?
Yeah, not an expert on this field, but from what I understand is that I think if you're talking about the hot side and enabling every woman to cook, I think that's also empowerment, because now those businesses that they can be doing with just those who are stay at home and who need to take care of their families or their parents, you're enabling them to do and earn a source of income with the energy that is available to them, besides what is currently very limited, right? Only for their consumption, but it could be empowering them to do more.
And maybe come up with cook appliances who are so cool that even men want absolutely that they they don't want women to cook anymore.
And men will change their professions and want to be more cooking home more. Yes.
Angelika.
Naja, I mean, I think in the last, I don't know how many years, I'm now here 2.5 years, GIZ or German cooperation has supported a huge improved cooking stove program. Actually, it was quite famous for Bangladesh. I mean, that was known all over the world, so to say, because that was still a big achievement, and that is still also going on. But what I heard is a bit whether that might also change because of now gas supply is everywhere, so it might more move in that direction. So is that really still what we should do and promote also in future? We are still doing it. And also others other countries are also assisting there with some NGOs here, which are also really working on that on their own and have a business model also for that. But the question is whether that will remain in demand so much. That's one part. Of course, there are other things like also, and if you look at the gender aspect, solar water pumps, for gardening, for agriculture, and so on, which helps there. And also what I said already before, this, which was done also by financial assistance, the domestic biogas plants promotion, So these are 3 areas which are more on the household level. We are, or on a village level, household level, whatsoever, smaller. Of course, we will, you have 100% access to electricity or to energy, let's put it like that. But there are still huge problems for Bangladesh to cope with that, because still there is a huge loss in the grid. There are outages again and again, which is also a loss in the grid. The grid, be it transmission or distribution, is not up to standard. Also to maybe take up more renewable energy, to get that into the grid. So there are still a lot of questions. Now we were talking at the beginning of graduating. They are in the process of graduating. They will. So there are huge problems still with that. It's a good achievement, but it doesn't stop. And everybody will ask them. That is the point which I've earlier made. Also, we need to look into energy efficiency earlier. I'm not sure, was it Sonia saying, or is this air conditions, for instance, this energy efficiency here in the same time with the urbanization, it becomes a huge topic, be it energy efficiency in public buildings, whatsoever. You are here in Dhaka. We are blowing out here along with the air condition. What do we blow out here? What can we do better there? So I think there are ahead of us still a lot of questions, and for Bangladesh also. And that's where we will look into that also in future. That is at least the plan for not only for Germany, but also for the EU.
Divya,
yeah.
Power for all. And now you have to choose, you are the godmother of of electricity distribution, and you have to choose between giving rather prioritizing cooking with electricity or electric vehicles, light electric vehicles? We're not talking about Tesla anyhow, it's out of the range, but should we prioritize electrical cooking? It could be a solution, yeah? Or electric vehicles. What would you say?
That's,
personally.
Well, well, I think electric vehicles, because in terms of emissions, I think that's something that we need to tackle. You know, in India, with especially with indoor air pollution in rural areas where traditionally people cooked on an open flame, I think the government did a lot in terms of trying to reduce that, and so there were huge subsidies on LPG. But even that was sort of has proved to be expensive, and so there's more subsidies and things like that. In terms of electric cooking, especially in rural areas, I think costs are still prohibitive. It's it's not just the cook stoves, but also the kind of cookware you need to use on those stoves. So all of that becomes sort of prohibitive for rural households. But I would agree with what Hadley said earlier, that there isn't just one type of solution that should be made available. There should be a stacked solution that can work, and so I think generally when we talk about clean cooking, we think of electric cooking, but then there's other forms of clean cooking available, and all of those need to be made available to households so that they can make the choice that's best for them.
All right. Sonia, would you rather invest into electrical cooking or into electrical vehicles? What would be your investment recommendation for the private sector?
Electrical vehicles, for sure.
Okay. All right. Good. Let me, as we're coming a little bit also at the end of our session, I just wanted to also invite, let's say, our participants, if you want to raise any question to the panel. I don't know if there are questions within our participants, and if maybe Lucas or Sebastian can a bit help me to manage that. So. If there are any questions upcoming, and maybe wait until we get first requests. Angelika, a bit coming back to the idea of lessons learned in Bangladesh. What would you say now from the perspective of a development organization like GIZ? So, as a development organization working in Bangladesh also for many decades, are there specific, lessons learned that you take from there and you would say that would be, let's say for the development sector, interesting to learn?
I mean, if you look at the energy part, I think what I would say is an advantage or learning also is that we are already for quite some years in this sector. So, more on the development, you don't, I mean, this carries on from one year to the other. People change, but nevertheless, this knowledge carries on. Where is Bangladesh heading to? I mean, we are working very closely. We have a lot of national personnel, and they are very conversant also with the whole system here. And I think, and being for a long time here, I think we can see better the path where Bangladesh will further move to, and where are points where we can assist. I mean, we have the financial assist cooperation, we have the technical cooperation, and for both it's true. We as GIZ, of course, we are more in this capacity development. So, and for that also, you need to know where are really the points where we could step in and to further, learn on the path to more. What was it that I also like this? What was this again? Not the access, the having
well-being.
Well-being. I just want to say
well-being. Well-being and then wellness later.
Yeah, then the wellness. No, the well-being energy. I think, Yeah, I think this is a good word. It's a good term, actually. I never heard that. Yeah. So it's the long time we are there, going with Bangladesh through various phases also, and we reached now a new phase, and I'm sure 100% access, what does it mean, and graduation, what does it mean? So I think Germany is also almost next year 50 years in the country in development cooperation.
Oh, okay, another birthday then.
That is, yes, so to say. So, and I think that says also there is a long-standing relationship. It's not easy, or is of course, yeah, but nevertheless, it gives us a good position to understand actually also what's to discuss with the partners what is needed. Where are the points where we could tap in? I would say, yeah.
Yeah, maybe before, as a little bit as a last round, you know, we have unfortunately, we have this big elephant in, I cannot say in the room, but everywhere, called COVID-19. Hadley, you already pointed out, actually, let's say the opportunities that we can take over, that we can take due to this crisis. Yeah, so supporting maybe the cold side of energy. From the others, Sonia, Divya, you know, how let's say, do you see also, let's say, with all the challenges, particularly that will overrun us now, on the, hopefully not too much, however, we can think, let's not think negatively, let's take it like Hadley and try to imagine what is actually the opportunity. One of it is that we are together, although in different places, and can talk this way. I think it's amazing. Sonia, what are our opportunities post-COVID opportunities from your point of view?
So, you know, I think we've talked about democratizing. So if you look at the decentralized and centralized debate that is going on, right? So if we move away from centralized to decentralize and make it at the most nano level possible, and then give people options to consume the way they choose to, and innovative ways of how it's delivered, it's stored, and how it's used. That's the comment I would actually make, not being a content expert in this matter.
Divya?
I think in terms of COVID recovery, it is going to look different in different countries. That, you know, just like climate change impacts look different in different countries, and, you know, two different populations that they face differently. And I think it's important that as a global community, we work together, you know, regardless of differences, and work together to make sure that as a global, you know, as countries together, we sort of like help countries recover in the best possible way, and in the most environmentally friendly way as well, because, you know, we've seen how climate change impacts more vulnerable populations harder, and unfortunately those populations have had the least to do with creating those issues in the first place. And so we need to be mindful of that and make sure that you know, there is a concerted effort towards this recovery, especially from, you know, developed countries, you know, making more of that effort to support countries that are still struggling with those.
Angelika, I also want to hand over this question to you, but combine it actually with one question that we have from our participants, asking if GIZ is going to support e-rickshaws. So let me put it into this way. Maybe also to you the question: would you think it makes more sense to go towards, let's say, if there would be a choice, e-cooking or e-driving? And yeah, question with regard, let's say, to Bangladesh, to GIZ's positions into e-rickshaws, but also your view, on the opportunities that we can take away from this crisis.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I fully agree with my colleagues in the panel. I mean, of course, the e-mobility, e-rickshaw is the bigger topic now. Yes, we are looking into that. That is a new topic, actually, also for us. It's not only energy. We need to look into the transport general sector here. There are many other topics related to that. Yes, but we will look into that, but we are at the very beginning, I have to say. And it's also, again, if you see that it is what I mentioned already before, it has to do with energy, green energy, energy from renewables, but at the same time also with sustainable urban development. So it's again this mixture. So yes, we will look into that. And the other thing is, actually, yes, we are. I mean, Bangladesh is, with all the figures at the moment, it looks like COVID is not over. We don't know, but I mean, we are in a more relaxed situation, but post-pandemic scenario is still, I think, quite, we need to look into that. And that also, again, specifically for women and for children, I would say. I mean, that has not so much to do maybe with energy, and we look at that part. But I think we as Development Cooperation Agency, we will also look into that post-pandemic scenario for women and children in Bangladesh, because this will continue for some time. I mean, this is looking at women who lost their work, being more at home, children not in school, and there are actually quite a number of effects which will continue to be. We need to look into that. Yeah, that's all from my side.
Angelika, Sonia, Hadley, Divya, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to have you. You've been great panelists. It was really a pleasure for me to moderate this panel, and I'm looking forward for many of these panels also with this constellation. And with these words, I would like to also hand over now the moderation to my colleague Christian, who will just tell us a little bit what we're expecting tomorrow, on tomorrow's day. And thank you.
Okay, thank you, Noara. Thank you very much for this interesting panel. And here comes the sun, I see in the virtual picture of Hadley. And the sun will shine tomorrow as well. And we have the third day of the MES 21 conference tomorrow. We had a great celebration of 50 years Bangladesh, 6 million solar homes yesterday. Today, we ventured into decentral electrification, gender issues, technical issues, etc. And tomorrow is an academic day, which does not mean we're just talking about theory, but this is structured in a way that we discuss the intersection of applications with academic perspectives. And we're very proud to have Dan Kamen. Professor Dan Kamen is a professor of sustainable development at UC Berkeley as the keynote. It will be midnight for him, 2 p.m. at Dhaka, 9 o'clock at our place. We will then have a policy session that actually still covers the issues around renewables in emerging markets, a practitioner issue with excellent speakers. And in parallel, we have presentations by the doctoral program that actually MicroEnergy has set up 15 years ago, and which is still alive, and that we're trying to develop through this MES network. So there will be a session on mini grids and energy access. We have a session on electricity distribution, water and energy, MTF in the water sector. Battery swapping was talked about, energy access, other topics. And then the final session will focus on why small is beautiful, which is a little bit philosophical, but this is the very basis why MES exists and why Bangladesh is such a successful country. So we will have Leah Strenge, who is one of the major actors in MES with Bangladesh, with Sebastian. We'll have Daniel Philipp provide us the background, why is small beautiful. We'll have a talk why nuclear power, even if the capacities are low, is not small nor beautiful. And then Ariane Krause presenting as one of the representatives of the graduate program, micro perspective on microenergy on microsystems research. So please join us tomorrow. And tomorrow we will also announce the site of the 22 MES conference. We're still discussing it amongst ourselves. I will not let out the secret because I want you to participate tomorrow. I want you to be there tomorrow. And we will announce the 22 site because, as you know, for I think 12 or 13 years, MES conferences are taking place every year, sometimes in spring, sometimes in the summer. And next year we may move on to another region of the world, another important region of the world. So please join us tomorrow for another exciting third day of the MES 2021. Good evening, good afternoon to everybody. See you tomorrow. Thank you.